Okay, so we've got a question here that involves some data presented in a group table, and it's asking us to calculate an estimate of the mean waste size, and then later on the question is going to ask us to compare a statement using the data to make some comparison. But we'll do the estimate of the mean waste size first. So what we need to remember is that when we estimate the mean, then we need to remember that the concept of the mean average, which is the total of everything divided by the number of numbers that gave you that total, has to have a slight change here, because we still need the total of the waste sizes. So the total of all waste sizes divided by the number of customers. But we have to use, to get the total waste sizes, we have to use what's called the midpoint of the interval. So it's going to be the sum of the midpoint times the frequencies divided by the total frequency. So basically we've got a little formula here that we do the sum of, this symbol means the sum of the total. So the total of the midpoints times the frequencies divided by the total of the frequencies. What I normally suggest with this kind of question is when it's dealing with estimate the mean size, or it's saying calculate the mean for an ordinary table of data, then you always add this extra column on, which is going to allow you to calculate the totals. And so we need the total frequency and we need the total waste sizes. So this is the midpoint times the frequency. Now what we mean by the midpoint is that these intervals tell us that 24 people, for example, chose a small belt size between 28 and 32 inches. We don't know their exact waste sizes, we just know they're between those limits. So the middle of the interval is going to be halfway, and halfway between 28 and 32 is 30. So we're going to do 30 times 24 as an estimate of what the waste sizes of these 24 people add up to. Okay, so 3 24s are 72, so 720. For this one, the middle's 34, so we're doing 34 times 12. It is a calculator paper, so you could do it on a calculator. So we've got 34 times 10, 340, plus 68 is 408. And we've got 36 there, so it's 38. So we have to do 38 times 8. So I can do 40 times 8, which is 320, and then take away 16, so 304. And then we can do 42 times 6, 240, 252. And then we've got to add up. I mean, the frequencies we don't technically have to add up because they told us in the question that it should be a total of 50, but we should check and make sure it does add up to 50. And then we need the total of all the waste sizes. To save a bit of time. Add those up. So I'll do a quick check. So 20 plus 34 times 12 plus 38 times 8 plus 42 times 6. Okay, so 1684. So that's the total of the waste sizes, and you end up dividing these two end totals all the time, the frequency and the midpoint times the frequency, when it's an estimate mean question. So 1684 divided by 50 could divide by 100 and double. Calculate paper though, so divide by 50 equals, so 33.68. One decimal place is okay for these kind of questions. Not whole numbers, unless the question particularly set round to a whole number. Decimals are important for mean averages to make comparisons. So we're saying that the average, the mean average waste size is 33.7. So when we look in here to check whether this is reasonable as an answer, then we can see that 33.7 would be in this group here, which makes it reasonable because we've got some bigger waste sizes, but most of them are down here. So we'd expect the mean average to be somewhere in this region, down the bottom here. Okay, so that's how we do an estimate of the mean average for a set of grouped data. The question goes on then and says belts are made in. Jenny needs to order in June. Well, the table was about the number of belts in May. So we're going to use this data as an estimate of what to order. And she says the modal size of the belts is small, which is true. The modal size was small because it was the one that sold the most. So Jenny's going to order 3/4 of the belts in size small. So she's going to order a lot of belts in size small, and the manager's shop tells Jenny she should not order so many small belts. Who is correct, Jenny or the manager? Okay, well, based on May's results, we can see that 24 people bought small belts out of the 50 people. So roughly half. She's wanting to order 3/4. So that would seem unreasonable, because based on the information for May, it says that about half the customers are buying it. So we're going to basically say here that the manager is correct, as only 24/50ths, approximately a half of the May customers bought small size. So she should order half of the belts to be size small. Okay, so anything along those lines would get you the mark for that particular question. Okay, so that's a run through of a question to do with data and how to estimate the mean average, and then how to do a comparison by looking at what the data actually did tell us and then making a statement to show that somebody is correct or not.